Greetings and welcome to this episode of Everyday Enchantment. I'm your host, Stacey, and today we're going to dive into a topic probably nobody enjoys feeling, which is about despair. Not the dark nights of the soul that we would normally, feel like linger for quite a while or shake everything up, but those little blips of kind of just like, general malaise, not feeling that great. Maybe you feel like you're in a little bit of a funk. And for whatever reason, you just can't quite seem to shake it. And for most of us, right, when we're in those spaces, we're trying because we've been told, oh, just, power through it. Tell yourself it's all going to be okay. I really, when I find myself in these places, have decided that that does not work. Telling myself to get over it, what have you. I mean, sometimes I guess. However, I just really find that the more we allow ourselves to be in kind of low periods, not everything is meant to be kind of a blissed out rainbow. Even for people who are intentional, like myself, around joy, joy encompasses all of the emotions. And I don't know about anybody else, but the last year has really been quite challenging. And I felt a lot of despair. And I keep thinking, oh my gosh, this is a problem. I need to do something. I need to coach myself through it. I need to somehow figure out a way not to be feeling this. And yet, I think what's going on with the planet, what's going on individually through all of this change that most of us are undergoing, and collectively, right? Just as the kind of everything that's breathing and living on this planet, feeling each other's maybe not always, belongs to us personally, but the despair of like some of the chaos, some of the overwhelm, some of the just, terrible things that have been experiencing in the last couple of years. And so maybe even so, despair is like an after product of, being on lockdown through COVID and all of that big shake up, we had to kind of get through. And I think a lot of our mental health and our mental well-being took a little bit of a beating. Not necessarily like in the moment we did the best we could. I mean, like now that we have the space and the time, some of the residue and the echoes of that are still kind of carrying with us. And so as we start to create and open new chapters, new precipices that we're walking through and walking on, you might find it doesn't feel good right away. You might find that you feel less enthusiastic, passionate about doing the things that you felt like you feel really strongly nudged, and yet you just want to take a nap for 3 weeks. I don't know. There's something in here around divine timing, right? We can't force ourselves. The more you try to push yourself through something, the more I find we just expand the thing we don't really aren't enjoying. I also believe we're allowed to say we don't enjoy whatever this is instead of trying to spiritualize it, have it have a reason, analyze it. Can we just be in a little, like maybe like a gray cloud, not like the biggest dark cloud, but like a little gray cloud as we are adjusting, as we are shedding layers, as we're just being humans on this planet in this particular time and era, letting ourselves feel and move through it kind of again in this kind of wavy flow state. So being down in a space doesn't need your rush to, oh my gosh, this is a problem and I've got to get it figured out. And how do I do it? And maybe if I meditated more and maybe if I drank more green juice, right, then I wouldn't be feeling this. So it's just like, can we just let it hang out and be? The more I find myself being in that state, I don't always enjoy it. However, it doesn't seem to linger as much. And I want to talk to about kind of getting caught in the wheel, right? When we're just kind of like, when we feel what we would say feel stuck. versus being in the wave of emotionals, ups and downs, and those kinds of things. So when you're in a wheel, you're just moving around and around, and you never actually feel like you take a breath forward. And to me, it's like it's much mind energy in the wheel. So the brain is telling us all the things, our lives are horrible, everything's scary, just kind of perpetuating this kind of fear energy, which is very much to me, I feel from my head. When I drop down, like literally breathe down the energy into my body, into my heart, into my feet, and I feel maybe a sense of, again, this like void, then that has a very different flavor to it to me. It's not da 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 like your brain is, which is the loop. And it is. And I think for so much of our lives, we've been conditioned to be like, everything should be sunshine, rainbows, and, a magical unicorn making its way. And there are definitely periods and moments of that. And there are also moments where, again, in a lot of this transition, we're finding ourselves in uncharted territory, in waters that we don't necessarily exactly know how to navigate. Our energies are all getting adjusted. So, giving yourself a huge breath or birth of compassion, acceptance, surrender. Sometimes I'll be like, okay, hey, despair, what are you doing here? What do you want me to know? Or maybe I'll say, is there something that I can do to support and nurture you, moving through me with great ease? Sometimes I'll go down that path, and then other times I'll just be like, you know what? Hey, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to feel however I feel. Maybe I'll put some music on, and I'm just going to be in, as much as we humanly can, complete acceptance. When we are in, as much as that muscle is that we can practice, acceptance and allowing, I think that that is, at least for me, the best tools I've been using to get in, not in and out of, but absolutely like just being through this experience. So if you're finding yourself with more despair lately, I don't think anything's gone wrong. I don't think necessarily you have to worry about that. You best. So always trust what is coming through for you and what people are reflecting around you. The world is a beautiful mirror. So again, in places where it's been really dark for me, which is not what I'm talking about here, I've definitely felt, kind of my support team kind of come in and make some recommendations versus just like I said, like a little kind of gray cloud, a little some rain. And again, what does all that do? It's clearing, clearing, clearing for us in ways that then make space that maybe we just have never had before. So I don't know. That's how I think about rain. Rain is like, ooh, wash things away, make things new again. We just don't necessarily, we haven't really lived in a way for most of our lives where we've allowed the whole spectrum. So this is going to take some more getting used to be in it in a way that isn't the good mojo only, good vibes only, whatever that toxic positivity is. It's like, no, when you start to acclimate to allowing everything, you might find, oh, yeah, maybe I'm feeling more of this, but maybe that's not actually true. It's just that you are allowing and making that awareness as part of your practice. And so it appears or seems that way when maybe it was always that way. Who knows? We don't know. So anyway, I'm very curious what you think. What's your relationship with despair? Are these like, again, smaller little clouds that move through? As somebody with a human design that has solar plexus, I have a wave of energy always moving through me. So it's very normal to be up and then come down and go up, and not to think that there's anything wrong. It's just my wiring around how I have this kind of emotional expression of the world around me. So you might be very much wired in that regard or something different, but feel similar in terms of how do we move like a river? How do we flow through it rather than putting up the walls and saying, yep, I don't have time for this? Because guess what? The more we don't have time for something, it just hangs out. It's like the cloud cover that just moves in for a month. And then it's like, ooh, it's what resistance really truly is when we say, don't want, I don't care, I don't have time, all of those things versus everything that I think and I feel in my life are welcome in my energy bodies, my body, all of it. And we can absolutely move with great intention. Doesn't mean we're just at the whim of things. We're in this beautiful flow. And then we get to weave kind of our soul energy, which I always come back to, right? I'm gonna be okay, or things are going to be with greater ease. Whatever that is that you kind of, again, you blend it together rather than trying to push against each other. So that's kind of my strategy these days. Again, my strategy keeps changing. So I'm curious what you've been doing that's effective. I think this time of year, right now it's winter. Maybe you're listening to this and it's the heart of summer, but I think winter with the gray skies and the environment kind of tend to kind of nurture these parts of us that, again, we don't always enjoy being with. And yet there's a sacredness to being more still and more inquisitive and coming inward when we're not sure rather than looking for the thing or the answer outward. So anywho, that is my thoughts today on despair. Please send me a note. Come on over to my Facebook group, Everyday Enchantment. We talk about all these things all the time. And until next time, I look forward to seeing you. If you're enjoying this podcast, please leave a review. We would love to hear from you. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in. Get all the delicious details and links we've mentioned in this episode in the show notes below. If you'd like to chat about this episode or learn more about how to work with me, come visit me in my private Facebook group, Everyday Enchantment, or check out my website, staceyandon.com, where you can find out more about my Leap of Faith coaching, my Map Makers group program, and the School of Intuitive Magic. Plus a special shout out for all the production and editing of this show by Richard Wilmore. That's it for now, love. Here's to living a life enchanted. See you soon.